I have a question that is bothering me, and if you think you can provide solutions or answer to these questions, you are most welcome. You can come forward and make your argument. Now, depending on whosoever comes, I am directing this question with due respect to the Chief of Staff of the Biafran Republic, in the person of Dr. Ngozi Orabeze. Now, the question is, of most recent, I've listened to some interactions, deliberations going here and there, but I'm an independent analyst, and of course, I make my own projections based on my informed mind and what I have been able to garner from the people's perspective. Now, my own projection or question is to the Honorable Dr. Ngozi Orabeze, that why suddenly those who has been working for the good of Biafra, for the actualization of the restoration declaration of the Biafran state for more than 3 years, with the Prime Minister of the Biafran Republic government in exile, suddenly become or is being perceived as an enemy to the Biafran cause, just barely few weeks after the absence of the Prime Minister of the Biafran Republic government in exile. There ensued some dichotomy, of which perhaps was not able to be managed accordingly as uh, people anticipated it, and they allowed it to degenerate to the public domain. And some persons having different view or opinion or perspective regarding what is going on. Now, my question is, of course, as a government uh, that is open to dialogue, that is open to criticism, that is open to ideas that may be coming from different quarters, most especially within the cabinet cycle. Sometimes we disagree to agree on certain occasions. That does not in any way suggest that the fact we differ in our own uh, arguments or perception about certain issues implies that I am against you. But what is important that we have to come uh, to a point that the divergence opinion must be converged, galvanized in the collective interest of the cause of Biafra, the interest of Biafra, not just on personal interest. Now, if you happen to be one of the cabinet members and you think that other members perhaps have different suggestions or different opinions, you should be able to convince them beyond reasonable doubt that your own position will not jeopardize the collective efforts or interests of the Biafrans. Rather than taking a stand or taking offense, perhaps I'm not aware of the details whether you're acting based on the pre-instructions given by the Prime Minister of the Biafran Republic government in exile. However, whatever be the case, I have observed that because of this impromptu uh, dissolution and subsequent arguments and misconceptions, something is lagging behind. Something is drawing back. The tempo seems not to have been sustained, because if you have to dismantle the existing cabinets without any proper replacements adequately, uh, it will, of course, tell the lapses will be very clear, and the people will witness what exactly is happening. Now, this group of persons has been dedicated, has been commended by the Prime Minister, just as the Minister of Finance. I've heard the Prime Minister of the Biafran Republic government in exile commending his effort in making sure that the lobbies are doing their best, contacting the lobbies, making sure that the military front in the homeland is being well adequately supplied with whatever basic necessities they needed and all that. But I am not saying that I am part of the cabinet members, but based on my own observations and having listened to the informed minds and the various or diverse views are coming from the uh, chief of staff uh, and other aggrieved perhaps persons. You see, and you don't just have to uh, consider other people's opinion regarding a subject of interest to be uh, antagonistic, because you must have an open mind and the rough minds. Get things together. You are not just a leader on your own, uh, taking a walk, but you must seek a coherent, comprehensive, and more formidable front in order to achieve purpose. And it is not to the credit of anyone, but the entire interests and emancipation of the Biafran people. Now, if one of the cabinet members may have raised some concerns and you think it is not important to be discussed or ironed out, you might definitely be getting it wrong, because everybody's opinion and input matters and should be protected. And that does not mean that everybody's collective opinion must count, but there's a way of uh, shivering those opinions and coming out with the best. Your opinion might not be the best, and you must not in any way force it on people. Now, I've listened to the chief of staff, which some persons regard as the deputy prime minister. Well, I'm not making any argument regarding that. But what is important is, in the absence of the prime minister, someone must deputize to continue the quest for the struggle, especially when there is a lacuna that should have been created in the absence of Simon Ekpa, the prime minister. Somebody have to step into that shoe, probably somebody who is very closer to him, working with him, who perhaps might know certain secrets or informations that are not privy to the public, or perhaps other uh, cabinet members might not be opportune to know, because the chief of staff is considered to be very closer. So, by my own personal opinion, the chief of staff should be very closer to the prime minister. And if there is any otherwise, or provisions or informations that have been tabulated, you should be able to convince the people that this is the master print of masterpiece of the prime minister, rather than getting offended. And unfortunately, most of the cabinet members were uh, uh, very fast to make some submissions, which might aggravate the situation, or might be wrongly misconstrued uh, by the public. And having said that, that does not protect the interests of the Biafran, collective interests of the Biafrans. So if there is any issue, of course, it is very clear that there are lacuna that have been created as a result of this dissolution. And within the time frame or the interval of fixing uh, those who has been dislodged or who has been dissolved, of course, within the interim, there is a gap. There are lapses that have been noticed, of course, which is very clear, which means there is a miscalculation and misappropriations of certain powers or authorities that would possibly create some elements of doubt. Why should such be dissolved? And if there is any confusion among the cabinet members, there should be a recourse uh, to go back to the Biafran Charter. As my people do say, the Igbo adage has this to say that ihe agụrụ agụ gbawuju anya agụkwa ya ọzọ. That implies that when there are confusions or miscontradictions, what sets the path record is the law, the charter. So you can't be operating outside of the law, just as we have it. The judiciary makes the law. The legislatures makes the law, judiciary interpret. So there are cabinet members or statutory members who are saddled with the responsibility of interpreting the law within the interim until the full restoration of the Biafran cause. So if such people weren't consulted, if there is any discrepancy, confusion about what the law says concerning certain issues or circumstances, and you have no recourse, of course, to make reference to the law, it means you are going overboard and acting as a dictator or somebody usurping the authority or collective interest of the people and might be perceived so. So, in the light of this, if anybody rises to say, no, this is not right, he might be perceived as the enemy of Biafra, while in quote, you are just projecting your interest and trying to make those people feel bad before the public uh, domain, which is in contradictions. I cannot in any way believe whatever is being said concerning any cabinet member or those principal officers pending on when the Prime Minister of the Biafran Republic government comes out and puts the record straight. I remember the Helsinki declaration, which the Prime Minister, the Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister or the Biafran Republic government in exile, and other cabinet members came together in Finland, in Helsinki, and made a Helsinki declaration, which is a binding law or charter that defines the path, that defines what the Biafran cause should look up to. But if such is being justified, of course, they say that necessity is the mother of invention, as my people do say that that notwithstanding having been said, we must learn how to respect the law, the provisions of the law. We must build, of course, the Biafrans must learn how to respect the provisions of the law. And being that you are coming from Nigeria, who is being considered not having interest or respect to her own law, you should not do the same part as setting the same example. And that, of course, means there's something fundamental. The Biafran cause must be built on system and not around an individual. And as such, if there is any confusion, whether in the absence of the Prime Minister or Mazen Nandekano, the law should be able to be, of course, a reference point where issues of such vague could be made very clear, and the cause of law orderliness must take its course so that the Biafrans can set a precedence which can be referenced to in the near future. So it is not all commerce affair. It's not a free for all fight, just as we can see today. I'm just limiting my discussions based on my analysis. I am not indicting any person, but pointing to the fact that the law or the charter should be a guide to whatever action or inaction that must be taken, well as it is well defined on the position of the law. And anyone going contrary to this might be considered, uh, of course, carrying a cue or a rep to the perceived democracy or democratic process the Biafrans want to adopt. So I have witnessed some persons asking the chief of staff, why is it that you block people who are having different opinions or perception regarding your own positions? That if perhaps if that should be true, of course, I haven't listened to her argument that these people are trying to confuse the masses and to discredit the cause of Biafran as she is deputizing or standing in the gap for the prime minister, which is an interim, a very few period. Whatever be the case, people should not in any way disregard the person of Dr. Ngozi or Abezi on the basis that she is a woman or she may not have the credibility to continue the cause. But whatever be the case, every warring parties must understand that Biafra is bigger than any interest. Biafra is bigger, of course, than any interest you might be not seeing or having as far as this today is concerned. If it means sacrificing your own ego, your own interest, of course, to promote the cause of Biafra, I think that does not would not be considered too much, because little mistake, little uh, misunderstanding could spark a heavy fire that might destroy whatever you may have been building for years, and perhaps give an enemy an opportunity to break in and wreak a havoc that will be, if even recovered, might take a longer time, uh, and will be a setback to the cause of Biafra. So, Dr. Ngozi Orabeze, the CSO to the Biafran government, and other aggrieved cabinet members must consider the need to continue to work in unity for the cause which Biafrans believe and have entrusted such responsibility to you. And of course, the future will have the rest to say concerning us. But whatever be the case, you must understand that no one is bigger than the Biafra, and no one could be considered less important in the cause or quest for the Biafran consolidations. Everybody's opinion matters, and anyone who must be a leader must lead by example. Of course, having your laws being guided by the truth. And what is that truth? It is not people's opinion or individual opinion, but the positions of the law, or the charter, the different charter, which defines the principles of where to go. And if there are issues that needed to be uh, ironed out, that of course there are think tanks, those who that should be consulted adequately or collectively, and everything being resolved amicably, rather than creating a lacuna, and which could be exploited by the perceived enemies who don't want you to stand, who will do everything possible to sponsor confusions and the possible disintegration, or setting the entire system or process in disarray. Of course, that will not pay off anyone and will not be in the interest of anyone. For those who are pulling their sheet, of course, it's high time you speak to yourself that whatever you do at this time, of course, history will have you either in the good book of history or otherwise. And let me have your interactions regarding this development, and of course, what you think based on this analysis. Thank you once again. I will continue to bring you in-depth analysis and interactions. Don't forget to like the buttons. If you're watching us for the first time, thank you for being part of the program. Kindly hit the like buttons and share. Subscribe to this channel for more political discourse. Thank you once again. Wishing you a Merry Xmas and, of course, prosperous New Year.